The following is a review of a comic book and is not an endorsement of the creators involved, including their weird internet fantasies, which I have seen. All of them. Thanks to the therapy, I cry less these days.
Hey guys, StarCraft here, and yesterday I was in a bit of a rut. I tried to get through doing my video I'm doing right now, but just some stuff put me in a funk the whole day, so I didn't even bother. But today, I've decided, now keep in mind guys, I'm in my car, I'm not driving. Alright, I want to make that clear, I'm not driving. I am parked outside, alright? See, hands off the wheels and everything. Got it? Just want to make that clear. But yep, today we'll be going over All-Star Superman for my end of an era. And as I talk about this, I'll also be using it to explain why I like about Superman so much and why he's still relevant. Seriously, that stupid Forbes article, it's like, really? Really? You're really going to go there? This is why they should get the comics people more involved, because they know more. Don't just be like, oh, we're going to get someone who doesn't know Superman very well. God. Especially Morrison here. Morrison, I mean, for one, the man was able to condense the origins to 4 panels and 4 sentences. Doom Planet, Desperate Scientist, Last Hope, Kindly Couple. Frank Quitely's artwork, by the way, is amazing in all of this, isn't it? And we open up, obviously, with Superman flying towards the sun to help save a Leo Quantum, the scientist and his team as they were doing research. Superman's flying in close to help them out. And as he does, he's clearly absorbing a lot more solar radiation. Absorbing more and more raw energy. Meanwhile, it's been made clear Lex is behind a lot of this, and people at the planet are ready to bring his head in. You know what I mean, figuratively speaking, of course. As we're seeing General Lane, it's not made clear that's Lois' father, but I assume it is, meeting with Lex, who is finishing up a broadcast, which, as he says here, was excuse me, General. I'm remote controlling a weapon with a voice command sequence I designed. The signal takes 9 minutes to reach Earth. In other words, everything he just finished up is already ready to establish. As he basically Lex has decided to make this final move. Why? Because he's getting older. Superman isn't. So he needs to make sure he brings him down. And, well, sure enough, Superman comes to the rescue as the creature tackles him. And, Superman's able to send it down into the earth before it explodes. And taking a little bit of a notion from John Byrne where Superman had a bioelectric aura, utilizing it allows him to actually pull the ship out by extending it. Why that? Well, as it's made very, Leo Quantum makes it very clear. The Superman's cells are dying. They've been overcharged, super saturated. He's already been able to do triple his normal maximum strength. And yeah, it's basically saying that Superman has about a year. And there's no stopping it. There's no reversing it. There's no way to stop it. And as we get Morrison really goes for this very, be thinking way out there, because here's something that Morrison has stated in an interview that he did with Newsarama, which I still have printouts for, but I'm not showing them all. That basically, the way I see it is, how do you make Superman all these powers be relevant? Simple. You increase the feats so that there's still stuff that you're relatable to, like, oh, instead of walking a dog, he walks this space monster across the galaxy, but still treated like he's walking a dog. Or family reunion, oh, he has family from the 30th century show up, but still treat like a family reunion. You expand, you make his feat, all these things more extraordinary, but you still keep it relatable. And I like that. Doesn't always work if you ask me, because I could still get old and tiresome, but still. I also love this, how you see this kid about to get run over. And later make clear that Clark saved him. And I gotta say, Frank Quitely, he really nailed Clark. He really got understood him. And oh, where is it? Hold on a second. The way he designed it, he basically went with you know, the whole like he bends his spine and everything's like, and even makes it look like he has a bit of a pop belly and everything. And then once he stands up, he's like, his face definitely even looks a little different too when he's drawn like that. And yeah, that's really well done, well clever and everything. And we end the issue with Superman basically revealing himself to Lois. Yep. But as we go into the next issue, Lois finds it very hard to believe. As they're flying, you know, she starts listing all the other times. It's like, you've always been Clark Kent. Well, what about this? And that was Batman. And that was Batman in disguise, things like that. Oh, I also like how he condenses the key to the Fortress of Solitude to be something so small and tiny. He basically thinks that eventually humanity will evolve to where they can actually lift it, and once they are, then they'll be able to come into the fortress. So yeah, basically, you know, he's just showing her and showing everything off to her. And then at one point, then she here's another thing. He has a pet sun eater. He's a little son from an anvil he got from a New Olympus. Yeah, see what I mean? He's like, oh no, he's being his dog just like normal. He's just using this extraordinary thing. Lois eventually walks in on Superman while he's working on something that, or a robot's working on something that has a what she's able to see, you know, like it's dealing with her. Then as it goes on, it's been made very clear that she's seeing things in black and white because her vision's being warped. Yeah, of course, Lois now starts saying, you realize then you've been lying then this whole time, and yet you say you never lie. Things like that. And it's like, she's basically becoming a bit paranoid to the point where she grabs this kryptonite gun that Superman had kept in his secret weapons vault, because she thinks like, oh great, he's going to do something to me. Again, the paranoia we find out is brought on by the gases from that room, until she eventually zaps him. And it turns out his super saturated cells are what's keeping him from, is what saved him. He's now since become immune to kryptonite. And then we find out that, that particular robot's been having some errors. We'll get to that eventually. But we find out what it's been doing. He creates a super serum so she can fly with, have his power for 24 hours without any ill side effects, and for her birthday. And thus we go into the next issue, which unfortunately it's less about Lois being Superwoman and more about dealing with other factors. Like we have this devil dinosaur guy attacking, and we later find while Superman and Lois are about ready to fly in, we find out that Samson and Atlas are there, and they had tossed the guy into space, which Superman gets him before he could die. And it turns out the whole point of this is she was instead, since she's so super strong, is these guys want her and they feel like, hey, she's strong enough to handle us now. So they're basically ready to challenge Superman. At the same time, then we have, it's made very clear that that Null, that was the devil dinosaur, was being antagonized by, he was antagonized by Samson and Atlas. And they are just continuing to talk, like they're just all like, oh, yep, they are looking at, she wants me, she wants me. Things like that. And basically Lois isn't going along with it because she feels like, I'm teaching you a lesson. And then we have to find out why they're doing it. Well, apparently, Samson is a time traveler, and he knows that Superman's going to die. So he decides, they sound like old spur and love and war. But it turns out that necklace they gave her, it brings forth the Sphinx, and it's ready to take her soul if he can answer the impossible question. Which is, of course, the big, right now, the ones that I like about this is how he gets the answer. Basically saying, what happens when the immovable force and the unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Alright. Let me double check. And basically the answer is they surrender. And, well, the Sphinx leaves, and the guy still won't stop it. So he's like, that's enough. And then they decide to do an arm wrestling where he arm wrestles both of them. And he takes out Samson, twists his arm all over the place. Then takes out Atlas as well, as the Superman and Lois fly off. And leads to one of my favorite shots, them kissing on the moon. Then, as Lois falls asleep, she thinks it was still an act. She still thinks he's not Clark. But then the best part of it all, though, was that, and how he got the answer was from this ad for a Lex car. What happens when the immovable force, unstoppable force meets the immovable object? Surrender to the new Lexus Samaritan. I just realized, though, I can just be summarizing everything about this, but I'll just simply go over the general gist of the other issues. The next issue is all about Jimmy, how he's decided, he's been doing this paper that's basically like where he lives the life of a person for a day. Also, boy, oh boy, Morrison treats Lucy Lane like a complete shallow, like, I'm breaking up with you and all that. And she only cares because he's, things, like of that nature. It's like, she's so vapid. But yeah, Jimmy is now going to be Leo Quantum for 24 hours. And as this is going on, they're looking into a thing called the Underverse, where they find a thing of black kryptonite. And once infected with it, Superman starts to become very much crazy. A bit, he becomes evil, but at the same time also is a bit bizarro-like in his action. As everyone tries to stop him, they're not going to. So what does Jimmy do? He goes into a door that said, do not open until Doomsday. He takes out and injects him with this thing that turns him, into Doomsday. He starts fighting Superman. And they just keep on wailing on him until he's able to bring Superman down and both of them revert back to normal. They're eventually also met by these guys who give him a thing called take him to the thing called Frankenstein on ice. But basically, again, this shows that Jimmy can be so awesome. He can be so, funny, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I don't care, I can get the job done. Now, then the next issue deals with Lex in prison. This whole thing, no Superman, just Clark. But it just really gets us into Lex's head quite a bit with and that Morrison does the handling of, oh no, he can do all this. There is still a good man in him, and he legitimately wants to do it, but he is just so obsessed with Superman. So, but at the same time, I'll tell you that how his ego makes him so blind. Like Superman, eventually you have some riots that are starting to happen, and watch, I'll get to that in a moment. You have this point where he's still trying to convince, he's giving Clark all these accolades and trying to, convince them, like, hey, you could think like me. He's like, oh yeah, perhaps cruel Lois Lane might actually have noticed good old Clark Kent slightly faithful and there in the corner, and sighing faithfully there in the corner. Why aren't you blushing? I know you have feelings for her. I'm here to interview you, Lex. But again, Lex is just, he's trying to give this whole big speech to him, and he's just trying to give this whole thing of like, think like me, because you should be. We're all human. Also, I do love this whole thing where Lex, he sees that Clark's writing what seems to be unintelligible scribble. So he's like, I can mentally crack any known code to man in less than a minute. Time me. To which Clark just says, it's shorthand, Lex. But as I was saying, though, eventually to show just how much oblivious Lex is. For one, they're having the parasite starting to sense Superman's power and absorb it because he's nearby Clark. Because, you know, Superman's so overcharged with energy, it's just imbuing, you know, like it's all the energy is just coming off. But you have Superman doing all this weird stuff happening, including freezing people, and Lex is just so focused on proving off, you know, to Clark how smart he is, he's oblivious to it. Until eventually they do stop Parasite, but then I love this bit. One of my favorite Lex moments. Watch easily as I make you and your paper and the entire penal system seem completely unreliable. And then the imitable Lex Luthor opened up the floor and shook hands with a baboon in a Superman suit. Evening, Leopold. It's just like, it's just so funny. It's just like, yeah, Clark could write that, but it will not only show how ridiculous. People could read it and easier say like, oh, they just made this all up. Clark just made this all up. Or, oh, if we found the truth, then Lex could leave at any time. This is also when we're introduced to Lex's niece, Nastalia, or Nasty. Also, we have this bit with Clark without his glasses, so basically Superman just basically trying to give one last moment of saying like, you'll die like a mad dog in the yard. Or think straight, Lex. And he thinks, I am. He'll die before me. As Clark leaves. The next one involves when Superman was, well, it's technically Superboy, but he's still Superman. As, well, basically you have, you know, his last days in Smallville. He and Jimmy and Lana are having a good time. I love how Lana's all like, why do you both act like I don't know who he is? Don't make me talk about this, Lana. As we're having, Clark, these new farmhands have come on. They're really strange. As we find out how they're Superman from different eras, including 1 million. As we find out that they're dealing with the Chronovore, which is basically this creature which was hinted at once in DC 1 million that can consume time. Basically, as Morrison put it, you could walk right down to a date, bouquet of roses in your hand, and the Chronovore goes by, you show up at the age of 70 with wilted flowers, but things haven't changed around you. Like, basically these things are, is already turning the cows into the hamburgers they were destined to be, for example. But yeah, it takes away your years, but doesn't, yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, as he's finding the Chronovore, though, he's stealing the time that he could have used to save Jonathan, his father, from a heart attack. At the end, they're like, no, I can save him. I can save everyone. Bah! And look at his hair's on fire. That's how fast he's flying. And then, bam, funeral. Yep, he wasn't in time, and he will never forget. We also had a moment earlier where Jonathan was talking with this unknown Superman, which we find out is our Superman, as he meets then Superman Prime from DC 1 million. And I love how he asks, like, which one of my descendants are you? To which the Superman Prime goes, ha! Why? Well, that's Superman after he gets out of the sun, of course. Next is a two-parter that the next one is mostly an action piece, as a bunch of bizarros make their way out as Superman sends his pet Sun Eater out. We basically have, it's all this action stuff as they're basically dealing with Bizarro, which are kind of like invasion of the Paw People and all that type of creatures. They'll touch you, you'll turn into one of them, and they'll take your form. And at one point, though, they throw one. Steve Lombard throws one of their co-workers out the window, unfortunately, and he's like, "Hey, I'm immune." And to which then he's like, "Hey, check me out, why I'm immune." And then and all that. To which Superman just uses X-ray visions, like, "I can see what made you immune, but I don't know if I would recommend those performance pills in your bloodstream to everyone. Steroids is what saved him." But eventually Superman flies off to Bizarro World, just as enforcing it to go back into the underworld, another dimension. And unfortunately, time is of the essence, as there's like a small opening, but right now it feels like he's stuck there. As we're introduced to Bizarro, the Bizarro's Bizarro, Bizarro World's Bizarro, in other words, the opposite on the world of opposites. And basically throughout all of this, it's him just talking with Bizarro, as Bizarro is, well, as Morrison puts it, an angsty teenager. I'm not going to go over that one very much. In fact, again, going throughout all of this, let me just skip on ahead a little bit as we see him, like, he deals with, Superman is able to eventually escape. He deals with these Kryptonian policemen, Lilo and Bar-El, who are basically badasses who show Superman at the unleashed his power inside to be all forceful and everything. Eventually they do themselves in because they flew through the same kryptonite cloud, following the same path Superman did. So all of their cells turned into kryptonite. He's able to send them into the Phantom Zone until he can maybe find a cure. He doesn't. But at least the Phantom Zone will now have some law and order. Issue 10, which Morrison stated was always meant to be where they put in any little moments and everything. And you'll have stuff like just a series of events. Superman tries to create life, among other things. And we have this giant robot attacking, and Superman's Lois like, "Lois, and Lois? Don't ask." And then they get out of there. Turns out she let herself be captured. Why? Because there's no one had a chance to talk to him. And so we find out that Leo Quantum had told her about his death. No one else knew until that point. And yeah, Leo said he let it slip out because he thought he wasn't coming back from the underworld. And yeah, and so I'm trying to say, hey, well, always, and we can never be any more than this. Now, as that giant robot was attacking, a psychiatrist was trying to contact this girl named Reagan, trying to say, like, "No, I'm on my way, seriously, all right." She didn't believe him, and this leads to one of the best moments in the whole series, maybe ever, for Superman. She drops the phone, she's ready to jump, stealing the courage, and Superman shows up saying, "It's your doctor really did get held up, Reagan. It's never as bad as it seems. You're much stronger than you think. Trust me." And she hugs him. I'll be getting this at the very end. But basically, yeah, you have all these other feats, like they release Kandor, using the Kandorians to try and help fight cancer. Yeah, they don't fully restore Kandor, but again, it's able to help people out. At the very end, we find out Superman has created life in this cube, and on there, Joe Shuster draws Superman for the first time. This is going to change everything. We get into then issue 11, where Lex puts his big master plan into action as he's sent into the electric chair, but it turns out it doesn't do anything. He was able to synthesize Superman's formula. How? Robot 7, the one that caused the glitch, turns out was hacked in by Solaris, the giant living sun, which is also a supercomputer, and he was able to give it to Lex, who was able to then synthesize that formula for himself. As again, he is just Lex is feeling all this power that he's still slowly adjusting to everything. Gives all of his tech to Nostalgia, as they are deciding to go out and just take over. How cool am I? As Superman knows about Solaris, he's going to go face the tyrant sun, as he and every single one of the robots are ready to fly out as Superman closes Fort Superman, which is what originally the fortress was called. as all the robots fly out there. This is also where we find out about one of them. Hold on. I gotta double check one thing. Nope, never mind. But yeah, one of the robots is still, left behind. Robot 7 destroys himself, trying to, making clear about what he did. Superman just keeps on facing this thing. The Sun Eater comes to try and help, but Solaris destroys it. I'm calling Superman to get pissed. And I love this bit from Estalia when she sees Lex and not Lex, Jimmy and Lois. You two are so post-mortem. But yeah, Superman knocks out Solaris, saying he's going to reprogram him, which again he will by DC 1 million, and Superman and Clark shows up, ready to give his last story, which is Superman's dead, and then he passes out as Lex shows up. Superman, and we go into the final issue as we see Superman talking with his father, who's basically telling him you can either die now or continue on until you can your body will continue on. In other words, defeat death, and then you can have your energies, though your body will still oversaturate eventually. So we basically have I love it though, where Lex basically feels like so why don't we let the planet decide who dies next? And to which Perry says the truth sent you to the chair. And Lex, is that right, Mr. White? Funny, I don't see the truth anywhere around you, do you? I mean, what color is it? Can I touch it? No, I don't think so. And so Superman finally, Clark gets up first and points this, has this one weapon at, actually no. And anyone else feel like acting out in front of the most powerful man on Earth? That's me, Lex. And I think maybe you should stop threatening my friends, and everyone else for that matter. Don't you think you're maybe just a little too unstable for the kind of power you're packing? As he zaps Lex with a gravity gun. Clark finally making clear he's Superman. As Lex is constantly having his mind open. As he and Superman continue on fighting, they just wail through it all until Lex wins. But as he comes up, he's starting to having this epiphany as the powers are starting to fade. But before that happens, he's realizing, like, I see it all as he does. And it turns out he used the gravity gun to accelerate his metabolism. So the 24 hours ran out. As Superman and Clark then takes him out as he gives Lois then one last kiss as he's starting to because basically what happens, Solaris betrayed Lex. He's ready to destroy the Earth, causing it to die. So Superman's heading out there to repair it as he goes into the sun. We then see Superman's still working on an artificial heart for the sun, which will take him so long to work on it. We then see Leo Quantum. Turns out he gave Superman gave Leo the means to make a new Superman, a new son to continue on after him. Hence his descendants as we end this. And this, I love this book. It really captures everything about Superman. Now, there was one thing that even Morrison admits was better in the movie than in this, which was Lex actually being redeemed after he had his epiphany, as opposed to still being Lex and getting clocked out. Even he admits, like, if I had thought of that, I would have done that instead. So McDuffie actually did something that even Morrison wishes he had thought of. Then, but basically then, what I love so much about that, he captures the character so well. Superman is in this just he wants to help. And that's what he does in here. It's this whole notion of, why people say, do we need to make Superman relevant? You don't have to. He's already relevant. Superman does things because it's the right thing to do. He does it because he can't. He doesn't use his powers to take over because he feels there's no. Why should he? That's what a true hero would do. They are altruistic, but unlike, and one reason why Morrison is not like the Jesus Christ comparison is that unlike Jesus, Superman's ready to put up his dukes and lay people down flat. Which, unlike Jesus, who was a true, actual pacifist for the most part. But yeah, Superman feels like he is. Sorry, I'm afraid that Superman is relevant always because of what he represents. You try and change that, you're not really being Superman, and you're making someone else that's wearing the Superman costume. People keep on saying they don't get Superman. I more look at that as that. And other people, if they're those who think he's too powerful and boring, you can't convince them. To those who say, "Oh, he's too irrelevant. Why have a Superman?" Or they feel the worst one. No, that's really unbelievable. If I had those powers, I'd be a complete asshole. I'd do whatever I want. Then you're Lex Luthor. That's simply what you are. Superman does all this because that's how he was raised. And that the fact he's able to do so well. You know what I mean? He's able to just help, and he's able to just get the job done. That's what Morrison showed here. Why was it the end of the era? Because this is Morrison doing his own take on the end of the Silver Age. And it shows. It's way more out there. As I said, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow is more of a Bronze Age send-off. This is more of a Silver Age with all the crazy antics and everything. But yeah, Morrison at the end, Superman, he was able to defeat death, but it was still the end. And he's just able to, because here's the thing, when Superman's dying, what does he do? He decides to dedicate everything he can to try and make sure the world's better off without him. Trying to make sure that, he solves everything that he can. Speaking of, he said that Superman had these 12 labors to do. Now, Morrison, of course, was saying, that was never meant to be the key focal point. But basically, here were the 12 labors. He saved the first man's mission to the sun. He brewed a super elixir. Answered the unanswerable question. Changed the Chronovore. Saves Earth from bizarro home. Returned from the underverse. Creates life. Liberates Kandor / cures cancer. Defeats Solaris, the tyrant sun. Conquers death, builds an artificial heart for the sun, and leaves the recipe / formula to make Superman 2. Yeah, those are his feats when you really think about it. Because everyone kept saying wasn't going to be a feat every issue? No, not really. As you can see, a bunch of those happen in multiple issues. But yeah, Superman, he does these incredible feats. But it's because they need to be done, and he's the one who's capable of doing it. And again, it's just such a fantastic story. There's a reason why people love this story so much. Now, it does bother me that people always rank the best stories as always the ones that are his final stories. That's always annoying. But for this, I think this is the best send-off. If this was the last Superman story, it's not. But if it was, or even regardless, if this would ever be your final Superman story you ever read, I can't think of anything better. Now, one thing I want to say is, I know I said I was going to try and get through all those other thumbnail videos. I'll try my best. But I saw an alternative to continue on my end of an era. There will be a big one. Because there is an end of an era that ended this year. And that, my friends, was Jim Starlin's ending of his run on Thanos. We had his final one with the Infinity ending. So I was thinking about going over all of those graphic novels. The Infinity Revelation. Now I'm doing this in the chronological order. So, Thanos versus Hulk. Thanos, the Infinity Relativity. The Infinity Entity, which includes the Thanos Annual. The Infinity Finale. This one will be just for funsies. Guardians of the Galaxy, and Mother Entropy. And then the Infinity Sibling, the Infinity Conflict, and like I said, the Infinity ending. I'm hopefully gonna get this done by the end of the year, and this might wrap things up. Now, why am I doing that? Superman is my favorite hero. Thanos is my favorite villain. Feels kind of fitting, because I did so much Superman stuff. I do Thanos, my favorite villain. And if this ends up being my final couple of weeks before the end of the year, because I don't know if I'm gonna do anything next year. I don't know yet. But if so, I would rather go out with this. Now, I'll try my hardest to get anything else done, but I think this will be a fitting farewell. If this ends up being my last series of videos. I hope not, but you never know. So, yep. Catch you guys later.